So this session, we're going to talk about the Hangouts API and how far the Hangouts platform has come in over the year. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Beri, and I'm a developer advocate on Google+. If you have questions about Hangouts, Hangout Apps, or any other of the Google+ platform features, please add me to your circles. That's the best way to ask me questions and start a conversation. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about several things, starting with what is the Hangouts API. For those of you who've never seen the Hangouts API, I'll give you an overview of the features. Why should you as developers build Hangout apps on top of the API? Go through a bit of history to show where we've come and where we're going. Talk about the API itself, how you can use it, and then finish off with the future, where we're going as a platform. Just quick poll, how many people have never been in a Hangout? All right, so we have some people who are making jokes in the front. Alan. How many people have used a Hangout app before? All right. The Mustache, most of you. Great. So what's the Hangouts API? Well, this is the effects app that we ship with Google+, and it's a Hangout app. And fundamentally, a Hangout app is an application that you as a developer can build that is integrated into the Hangouts experience. It's something you can control. It's something that you can create new experiences around, and we as Google integrate that for users, and they can quickly and easily add that to their conversation. So the pieces are very simple. There's two major parts. It's JavaScript and HTML. It's regular code that we build for the web that you can either have Google host or you can host it yourself. And it's the APIs that we extend on top of the Hangout app to allow you to more deeply integrate with the overall video experience. Now, at the lowest level, a Hangout app is just an iframed app that we shove into a Hangout. So this is a mantra we like to use around the platform team. Anything you can do in an iframe, you can do in a Hangout. So that opens up the possibilities of the types of applications you can build. But because it's an iframe, you can also host on your own servers. So you can use whatever backend services you want, whether it be Node or Python, App Engine, Go. You can use any database you'd like, MySQL, NoSQL, YourSQL, whatever. You can use the existing technologies that you're comfortable with to build Hangout applications. So why would you want to build Hangout apps? If you're building apps today for the web, you can bring those applications into a multi-user video experience that's real-time with high engagement. So if you have a standard application that's really useful, let's say in a collaborative sense, that it's valuable to have a shared activity, bringing that to a Hangout lets you build on top of that platform and add video and real-timeness for free. And it's built on top of Google+, so you have that social network that can connect users in a seamless and integrated way. There's also another type of app that's really exciting for you as developers, and that is to enhance the conversation. Typically, video chat platforms, they may allow you to customize some things, but with Hangout apps, you can actually tailor the experience for the type of conversations users want to have. Here's a screenshot of an application called Hangout Toolbox that allows you to see who's talking and control volumes of all the speakers and configure how the conversation can flow. And you can use this for broadcast scenarios or just one-on-one with your colleagues. So let's talk a little bit about history, especially for those who may not have built Hangout apps before. Here's a timeline of the Hangout apps journey. It all started in late 2011 when Google+ launched. We didn't have apps. But Google+ Hangouts shipped with a built-in application, the YouTube application, that allowed users to watch a video together as if you're on the couch, even if you're millions of miles away. Right? Maybe not millions, maybe thousands. But it sparked something at Google about this is the type of experiences that we want developers to build. So we started working on the Hangouts platform, and we launched in developer preview in early 2012. And from here on out, we started adding new features to unlock new types of applications. So the first applications that we built was the Effects app. And it was neat, it's fun. It allows you to integrate little animations, overlays, within the video stream. And it's very simple. It sits on the side of the screen. But it sparked conversation. Wearing a mustache or a snorkel, as silly as it sounds, can just start a whole new thread of ideas. And people at work are using this to maybe offload a little bit. And we saw these types of applications being built from the early days. A few months later, we went to general availability. That means developers could actually ship their applications to all Google+ users. One of the first launched apps was Scootin' It was built fully on the application platform, and it allowed people to draw together. And you think about how simple that is to do in your daily lives. You know, you're at a table with your niece or your daughter, and you want to draw together. That's great, but what if you're traveling? Scootin' allowed you to connect, even if you're in a hotel room in Tokyo while your kid's about to go to sleep and draw something together. And this app uses different features of the platform, like those overlays we saw that were a mustache. They used it as part to show the crayon you're using. They also use the Realtime APIs that we built into the platform to have the smooth drawing experience seamlessly with that fun video piece. Then last year, I was on the stage talking about how Hangout apps have evolved, and it was amazing. We had even more apps built on the platform, more engaging types of conversations being spun off these apps. Here's another example that we unlocked with another release. This is called Donut Horns. It was built by one of our friends at an agency. And at I/O, we announced a facial movement recognition API. Similar to the overlay that just sticks to your face with a simple API, this allowed you to build interactive demos like this, where you could become a unicorn and catch falling donuts. Clearly something you want to do at I/O. But that's silly and fun, but this opens up a whole new class of applications, whether it be a game like this or things for accessibility and helping you communicate and control real-time interactive media. And as we moved forward, we released more and more APIs, and the platform matured and grew further. For example, we launched an app called Cameraman to enhance the broadcast controls to enable Hangouts on Air to have a controllable experience for those producers. And then we exposed the API to allow you to control who is in or not in the Hangout. We also had regular releases improving the user experience of Hangouts themselves to bring Hangout Apps to the forefront of the conversation. And we're still shipping today, still improving on the platform and making progress, adding new features and unlocking new potential within applications. So let's talk a little bit about the actual API, the code you can write, the way you can integrate. The API is built on 5 very simple principles, and these are methods that you can invoke, events that you can listen to and respond to make your apps interactive and seamlessly integrate with the video experience. These are just quick names, but around people, the real-time APIs, the video effects themselves, and more information about the Hangouts to tailor the UI. Let's walk through a few examples. Because this is a social experience, a conversation, the most important API is the ones around people. So I have a series of participant APIs that allow you to know who's in the Hangout, who's just joined the Hangout, who's leaving the Hangout, so you can make your applications respond to those events and integrate their social identity to make it a personal experience. Here's, again, a screenshot of Hangout Toolbox. When somebody joins the Hangout, you can see who they are and control their speaking volume. If somebody has a booming voice, you can turn it down. And if somebody's too soft, you can bump it up. Another core class of APIs is the real-timeness. Hangouts themselves are real-time and spontaneous. If Richard is in a Hangout and I see him, I'll want to join with him, right? It happens naturally. So I have APIs around this real-timeness of the Hangouts themselves that you can integrate into your application. And we provide APIs as well that allow you to add even another level of real-time responsiveness. Again, in Scootin', they use a series of APIs that we collectively call the real-time APIs to draw the points that the user is drawing and then smoothly show the path. This is used for games like a donut horn or a foosball game. And just like the Hangouts, you can make your applications responsive and real time. And the last class of APIs is around the video. Manipulating the stream, adding the overlays for fun and for actual effectiveness. Again, this is a combination of a bunch of APIs, but they overlay using the face tracking API, the unicorn horn. The unicorn game doesn't actually have to write the code to figure out where your face is and stick it on. They just attach an image to what we call a face, and the Hangout tracks it for you. They have balloons in the background that kind of move up and down, simulating a floating balloon using another API. And then, of course, the facial movement recognition API. Their application can know where the face is on the page and then make the animation respond to it. And these are just a few ways to use these same APIs. And now a little bit about the future. Richard Dunn here is to talk more about where we're going.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Dunn. I'm the lead engineer for the Hangouts API. And Jonathan just sort of filled you in on a little bit of the history of how the API got started and kind of the basics. And I get to do the fun stuff, the demos. And those of you that have been with us from the beginning will appreciate a lot of the stuff that we've done here, just trying to work out the kinks, make everything work a little better. So where is the platform headed? What do we want to do in the future, and like, how do we want to make the experience easier for you to develop against, and really try to get a lot of good Hangout applications going. So Jonathan talked a lot about the progress we've made over the last year and a half. I feel like we've released a lot of rich APIs. We've tried to sort of cover all the new features in Hangouts with APIs so that you guys can build the types of experiences that we either haven't thought of yet or haven't had the time to sort of work out. I mean, I think the volume control is a really good example of that. You guys wanted to be able to adjust that, and you guys wrote it. So what do we want to do from here? The first thing we want to do is really focus on faster and more flexible releases. So if you've followed along, we've made sort of regular updates to the platform. But I think that in a lot of cases that was driven by us, and we want to fix it so that it's driven by you more, and that we get stuff out as soon as it's ready. So we're always sitting there coding up new APIs, and we want to make sure that they're in your hands as fast as possible. And as I said, we really want to get your feedback. So we want to be building APIs based on the kind of things you guys want to build applications on. We want to hear from you about what the API should look like to just make it easier for you to write your applications. And we want you to test stuff out that we want to try out and let us know how it works. And of course, we're Google. We always want to release cool stuff, so we're going to keep doing that. So let's talk about the first thing we're going to do that enables us to release things faster. So for those of you that have been following along, we've had a series of versions. And as of today, we're actually going to switch to a new model for releasing API. Anyone that's familiar with Chrome knows that Chrome uses a sort of a channel model where you can follow like a stable and a beta channel and that kind of thing. And within those channels, things are just pushed automatically. So we're going to do that. No more versions. So instead of batching up APIs and releasing them in a particular version, we're just going to have one channel, and it'll go ahead and update automatically with all the new stuff we come out with. So this is going to be the stable channel. So we're going to have a stable channel. If you've written an app before, it's just basically a single JavaScript include. We've changed it a little bit. You'll notice there's no real version number in here. So when we release new stuff, it'll just automatically come into this channel. So the stable API is what you're going to be using in all of your public your public applications. It's going to have the APIs that we've very thoroughly tested and run by and made sure that everyone is happy with. So this is the stuff that we're very confident. So far, we've essentially made all stable releases. So just imagine that continuing, but on a faster schedule. And the fun new stuff, though, is we're actually introducing a second channel, which is a developer channel. And this is where we're going to basically use this as a playground for new features. So this is where we're going to put stuff that we have developed internally, but maybe isn't quite ready for prime time. This is where we'll release new APIs initially so that you guys can give us feedback on, do they look right? Do they do all the things that you want to do? Is it too complicated, et cetera? So this will be for non-public applications. So if anyone's familiar with developing, you can sort of set your app to be public. This is for your private applications. This is for you to play around with. As I said, everything's not ready for prime time. It's going to be a little bit of the Wild West in there, but I think you guys will have fun with it. But on that note, we want you to actually be using these private applications and testing them out and trying to use them in real world. So also today, we're going to announce a new developer experience. So anyone that's developed a Hangout app knows that we have this isolated sandbox that you run in right now. That's where you run your developed apps. It's a little bit wonky. You can't invite people. It's not related to posts, things like that. And a lot of Hangout app developers are also very active in Hangouts. So there's sort of this disconnect between the apps they're developing and the Hangouts they're in. So we're going to introduce a new developer experience that's going to let you run your private apps in regular Hangouts. And I'm just going to go ahead and demo that. So bear with me a little bit here. So if I go into a Hangout, and everyone's sort of familiar with the basic UX here, I've got some apps on the left, et cetera. And if I go into our app picker, you'll see the sort of featured and recent tabs. And what we've added is this developer tab. Anyone that's been in the sandbox has seen this. And if I go into that, this will actually list the apps that I'm currently developing. So I just put in one of our sample apps as a test here. And you can see that I can load it. And I have at the top the sort of familiar developer bar. This lets me do stuff like reload the app, reset the state. This is great if you're just actually sitting there hacking the JavaScript. Really lets you figure it out. I'm just going to go ahead and start another application real quick for the sake of the demo. OK, so I'm just in a Hangout. I've got a regular public app, doesn't have any developer tools. I have an app that I'm working on, has the developer tools. And let's go ahead and get somebody in this Hangout with me. I'm just going to hang out with myself, because that's always fun. And you can see when my other half comes in, we can see that I'm running the public app, the effects app, but I don't see my developed apps. So the developed apps are run privately within the Hangout. So this is great if you're just like wanting to test it out yourself. It's not really ready, but you just want to play around with the app in a real-world environment. You get real people in there. But of course, that's no fun. You want to test it with real people as well. So what we've added is another button to the developer toolbar, which allows you to share the app. And what this is going to do is basically give everyone else in the Hangout with you a one-time pass to play around with this app. So as long as they're still in the Hangout with you, they can see the app, they can interact with it. They move on to another Hangout, they don't have it. So basically, this is great for like beta testing. You can get your developers in there. If anyone's done this before, you had this weird thing where you had to add people to teams and things like that. We're just making it easier. So let me just demonstrate. You can see on the left, I can still see that only that I'm in the public effects app. But if I, as a developer, hit Share App here, now everyone else in the Hangout can see it. And they go in, and they can run the app as normal. We are going to put up a little warning just to make sure that the other side knows that this is a developed app. It's maybe not ready for prime time, et cetera. But as soon as they click through, they can run it. Come on. All right. Well, let's not worry too much about it, but let's assume that's going to load. There we go. All right. The demo gods are not smiling on me. You get the general idea, though, right? So they'll be able to see the app just like everyone else. All right, let's go back to there. So that's our new developer experience. Just to sum up, no more sandbox. We're actually going to end up retiring the sandbox. We'll give you a little time to get used to the new experience, but basically just going to retire it and move to this model. And you'll just, as you're developing apps, develop them in regular Hangouts. Obviously, you can just be in a Hangout with yourself and play around with it in there, but if you want to bring other people into it, see how it works in the real world, or even share it with them, you can run it privately, or you can share with others in your Hangout. So that's our new developer experience. I can see some of the veterans in the room are happy with that. OK, so we have this new channel model. We're giving you new stuff. And I wouldn't want to give you new stuff without actually giving you new stuff. So we also have some new APIs to announce today in both the stable channel and the developer channel. So let's start with the stable channel. Jonathan pointed out that one class of apps that really helps is these sort of enhancement apps, right? The things that tend to run in the sidebar that sort of set the experience of the Hangout the way you want it. Things like effects, things like volume control, things like, I think anyone that's watched an HOA, the very popular lower thirds application that lets me show a title. These are the kind of things that a lot of people that are in a lot of Hangouts are just bringing up every time they go into a Hangout. So why should you actually have to click on that app to run it? Why don't we just load it for you? So we're introducing a new API today to let the app auto-load itself whenever you go into a Hangout. So let's demo that. I'm going to get out of this Hangout. All right, so this is the Hangout toolbox. Anyone that's familiar with this, it's basically a bunch of utility things. And one of the more, I'm going to go ahead and close this. One of the more popular ones is the lower third, right? So here, if you've watched the news, I can set a lower third that gives my name, what I do, et cetera. This is great if you're just coming into Hangout. Maybe you're with strangers. You want to give them a little bit of an update as to who you are. And as I said, it's great on an HOA where you don't necessarily have the context of seeing who's in there. So we've added a new option that lets an application set itself to be auto-loaded. So they've updated their app here to enable that. And I can actually click this on. And when I click this on, I'll get a little warning that lets me know that this is going to auto-load the next time I want. I can undo it, all that kind of thing. But if I did really want this, and I go into another app, or sorry, into another Hangout, it has already started. And in fact, you can see that my lower third popped up as well. I'm going to give a little shout out to the Drive team, who has a new API for application data. And I think this is a great way to basically let an application store, say, a config file. And what they've done with Toolbox is say, we'll store your lower thirds. And when you auto start, we'll actually auto turn on your lower third. So anyone that's in a lot of HOAs is going to love this feature. We'd really encourage anyone that's doing sort of an enhancement app that they think would be useful to run in every Hangout to turn this on. And we'd love to see a lot more of these kind of tools that let you shape the experience of a Hangout. So sum up, you can now set your app to auto-load. The user will confirm that this is what they want. Might want to look into some of the Drive stuff, and I encourage you to go to some of the Drive talks to see how you might make that experience as seamless as possible. You could even imagine hiding the app when it comes up and knows exactly what it wants to do. And this is really allowing you to set your Hangout the way you want it. All right, so that's going to be in the stable channel, so that'll actually be available for public apps immediately. Sorry. So in the developer channel, we basically have a set of new effects. And I think that these effects are fairly exciting, but they still need some tweaking. So that's why we're putting them in the developer channel. And we're letting you take a look at them, use them out, and give us feedback on how they're working. So let me demonstrate 2 of those. So I'll leave this Hangout. So the first one, for those of you that are familiar with our facial tracking, should come as sort of an expected evolution of that. And that is hand tracking. Oh. Well, that's not good. Oh, actually, I know exactly what's happening there. All right. Does anyone want to sit here and wait while I fix it? I think we can fix it. Why don't I skip to the other one while I'm fixing it, though? So actually, I'll just talk through it. So hand tracking, I mean, I think it's fairly straightforward. We've had facial tracking for quite a while, so you've had the ability to see the face, see points on the face, track them along, put the overlays on top. So Jonathan mentioned the effects app. You know, we've had the snorkel mask, and let that do it. But you can also actually track the face. So if you want to write your own game logic or whatever that deals with that, you can. And so we've added this for hands. So now if I hold my hand up, we can actually identify the center of the hand and track the hand as you're doing it. So you could imagine writing applications where somebody raises their hand to answer a question, and the app actually automatically picks up that they've raised their hand and does that. Or you know, we had an application release that was ping pong with your face, and as fun as it is to play ping pong with your face, I think you probably would rather play it with your hand. So let's do that. Okay, so that's one of the effects. And the other one, I know that the tech guys here were very excited about, and that's background replacement. So we're still playing around with this, but if anyone's familiar with this, I'm sick of being at I/O, and I would rather be on a beach. So I can just go ahead and select something, and I'm on a beach. Obviously, you can see it's a little raw. It's sort of picking up. And we've actually got this slider in the app here that plays around with sort of how much of the background it picks up. This is why we want to put it in the developer channel. We want to have you guys try it out. There's a lot of knobs to tweak, and we'd like you guys to sort of build apps around it, get people to play with those, see what things work, what things don't. So we'll have general background replacement, where I can just replace the background behind me with any image. And then kind of a cool feature that's background blur, where it really just blurs out the back very subtly and focuses on your face. OK? Oh, I can. Let me go back and do. Yeah, I should have done that. I apologize. Yeah, let's do that. There you go. It's a little better. We noticed this yesterday. Like, for some reason, under the lights, my forehead tends to wash out pretty well. But you see, I can actually adjust down how much it thinks is background and how much isn't. And you can get pretty good. Obviously, this works better in certain situations, like against a solid background, that kind of thing. But again, we really want you guys to play around with this. Let us know under what conditions it works good and what you think you can do with it. OK, so those are the effects. Again, hand tracking, background replacement, and background blur. Please try them out. Please play around with them. And let us know what works, what doesn't. And this is where we're really going to try and use the developer channel. We want to hear the feedback from you. And we want to change the API to look the right way, adjust the parameters so that it works well for everyone. And on that topic, how are we going to get this feedback from you? Obviously, since the last I/O, we've released communities and that kind of thing. And we really want to focus on creating a good community around Hangout app development. So anyone that's familiar with the Google+ developers community, you know that there's a Hangouts category in there. It's a little sparse in terms of posts. We want to change that. We're really going to try to engage with that. I think you should watch in the next few weeks. We'll deep dive into some of the stuff that I've announced today. This is where we'll start posting all the updates to the API. So you follow that community to see all the new APIs in the dev channel, see when they get upgraded to the stable channel, that kind of thing. So I encourage you all to join. We're going to get the engineers from the team involved as well. And really just take your feedback, solicit your ideas for what you want to build and what APIs we can unlock for you. So as I said, we'll post the API updates, and we want your feedback. And just a little upsell, we have a code lab on Friday at 2 p.m. We'll be going through some of these things, building a simple app that covers all the APIs that Jonathan talked about. I think it's got some of the new stuff in it, hand tracking at least. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you all to show up and see how easy it is to build Hangout apps. All right, so let me bring Jonathan back up. And I think we'll just take any questions you have.
Cool, yeah. There are mics over here if you got some questions.
Alan has a question, I'm sure.
Please go up to the mic so
Please go up to the
people
mic,
in the recording and the stream can hear it.
Does the hand tracking track both hands, like left and right at the same time, and you know which hand is being held up?
I think it's right now just one. And it does the same thing that you do with face tracking. So it's just the main face. Oh, OK, no. Patrick tells me it's two. So you will get both hands. Does it identify left versus right? I forget. Yeah,
Yep.
OK. So you'll actually be able to figure out left and right hands as well. All right.
How far do you think we are from getting HD video inside Hangouts?
That's a good question. Chi, you want to field that one?
So for those in the watching the recording, we don't talk about upcoming features,
Sure.
but that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I would love that.
The auto start feature for
Yes.
an app, that's only triggered by a user volunteering for the app. It's not triggered by a Hangout owner saying this app is required for this Hangout?
Correct. So right now it's centered around the app, basically providing a UX for the user to say, hey, I want to auto-run this app.
So it means in every Hangout that I'm joining, I want this app to run.
Right.
Not in every Hangout that I own.
Correct. So think about the experience that you want to have in a Hangout. This lets you craft that experience using apps. And I'm going to give a little, we never really officially announced this, but one thing we did a few weeks ago was remove the restriction of only running 2 apps at a time. So part of it was to enable this. So you can actually run as many of these extensions as you want. If you've got an extension that sets your lower third, that runs as one thing. If you've got something else that, I don't know, does skin softening or something like that on your avatar, you can run that as a second extension.
Cool, a good question though.
So one of the questions I have, especially with backgrounds and all the rest, is
Okay.
brand marketing. So one of the very cool things to do if you're a game company would be have a hangout for your specific game and have the background graphic be your specific game.
Right.
And allow people to do defaults and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect would be when they come into the Hangout, certain apps are automatically installed or required. So the other way would be very good for brand marketing. So they join a game, say The Godfather or something, they join that game.
Right.
And they would automatically have the same experience of everyone else who's in that Hangout at that time.
Right.
It's a much more branded way of doing it.
Right. Yeah, we've definitely heard that feedback before, and I think if you saw a recent integration with YouTube's Coachella streaming, we did something similar to that, where when they came in, they automatically had both the YouTube app that was streaming this and the Coachella stuff. So we're definitely working on that area, and we'll let you know.
And actually, a lot of agencies that I work with, they use a feature we call the Hangout button. So it's actually a link that allows you to put on a web page, a Facebook post, wherever, that does one of two things, or both. You can specify an app to load if a user clicks on that Hangout button. So load your branded app. And you can also pass in metadata with that link. So let's say it's a sports team site, and they have a Hangout button. They can pass what page they're on, some campaign tracking, as well as preload that particular team's app. So it's you can do a lot of that stuff today. Cool.
Hi there. I realize you just announced hand tracking, but is finger tracking on the roadmap?
I don't know how detailed we're going to get, but
Just a supplemental question. Is
Yeah.
the image buffer data ever going to be exposed so we can do our own custom effects or image segmentation?
I mean, I think the big issue there is really a privacy thing and just giving third parties access to that. You know, I'm sure if we could find a safe way to do it, we would consider it, but we really have no plans for that now, just for that reason.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Though we'd love to hear what you would do with that data.
Yeah.
Because maybe we
Right,
can't.
we could enable very specific scenarios.
Yeah, because if it's something really cool and interesting, maybe we can solve that problem with another API that doesn't expose the private graphic information, but enables you to do something really interesting. So we'd love to hear that feedback.
So I'm Jeff Dalgas with Stack Overflow, and I want to first say kudos for the Hangout. It's changed the dynamic of our team.
Oh, fantastic.
And,
Thank you.
We've actually integrated our own internal chat system as a Hangout app application.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
neat.
that's what it's there
So-
for.
Yeah, and it's so great. That's great. One thing I had a question about is one feature that's been deployed recently in the last couple of weeks is muting while you're typing.
Right.
So there are features like that that sometimes come into the Hangouts experience that we kind of would wish we could somehow turn off.
Right.
Is there a way, or is there a plan for some way we can have that as
So I think if you follow some of the releases we've done, I mean, in general, we've tried to follow all the new features pretty quickly with an API. And I think moving to the channel system is really going to let us, you know, iterate even faster on that. And so as soon as a feature comes out, we should, you know, pretty quickly release an API for that. I hadn't heard that particular one, but we'll definitely keep that in mind as a feature request.
As you know, we're all coders, so as we're typing, you get muted, and it's just...
Understandable.
That's also good feedback for the algorithm we use to do
Yep.
that. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
figure out if the person's a programmer by what they're wearing, and then don't
What
mute
hour
their-
they are on.
Yeah, if it's 3 in the morning,
What
don't
ports
mute their
open
tape.
on the
Yeah,
machine.
there you go.
Chad Lafarge, Pro Studio. First, thank you for letting the hosts hide the film strip and for letting the host mute notifications as needed.
Yes, other new APIs released today.
Is there a technical or business reason why a host wouldn't be able to say, I want everybody who enters this Hangout to load this specific application?
I mean, I
That's
think
something we haven't addressed.
I think it's just sort of a use case. I mean, I think this is really a good example of a use case that's emerged since Hangout started, and really because of HOA probably.
Yep.
I mean, this is stuff we weren't thinking about on day one, right? Remember, we didn't have Hangouts on air. So we've definitely heard that feedback, and as I said, we're exploring that.
One nuance is users do provide permission to expose their Google data, or if the particular app is using another Google API. So some apps may not be able to auto-authorize those kind of things.
Right.
For me, that's an opportunity for them to decline and just not come into the Hangout.
Sure.
That's a good idea.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Yep.
We're actually out of time. Is there a quick question?
Quick question.
This will be the last quick question.
Well,
right.
we can screen share video and stuff. So maybe we can audio share. Because if I want to share a video, I can share the video part of it, but I can't also share the audio at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Or if I want to play a song and I want people to hear it, or or even like some way to be able to share a YouTube video with the other people. I know we can watch a YouTube video together, but if I'm doing a Hangout on air, there's no way for me to share that YouTube video without a lot of wires.
So I've actually not heard that particular request before, so that's interesting, but just sort of off the top of my head, there are definitely complications with audio that aren't there with video, just because, am I playing it locally? If you've ever played with the YouTube app, you kind of have that push-to-talk system, just because you don't want the YouTube video conflicting, being fed back through and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So definitely something to look into. As I said, it's the first time I've heard that request, but I'd love to look into it.
If we're doing a show and we're going to present a Russian meteorite exploding, and there's
Right.
video and audio going along with it, we want to share it with people, we can bring up the YouTube or bring up even just a video and show it, but the audio won't get piped through, so we have to come up with some other way to
Sure.
make that happen.
Definitely.
I have seen some pretty sophisticated solutions to some of these problems by using virtual hardware drivers, especially in interesting like embedded applications for robotics or things like that.
I mean, I could just pipe the
exactly.
the input, and there's ways to do it, but I would just
Yep,
the
that's
way
great.
People always want to share video and they can't get the
It's
audio.
great feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
thanks,
we better
guys.
clear the room. We'll be around for a little bit if you have further questions.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.